Welcome to the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Questions from the Italian Football Podcast patrons, where you, our patrons, decide what the show is about by simply sending in your questions via DM on Patreon. I'm joined, as always, by Carlo Garganese. We've got lots of questions. We'll try to get through all of them, and if the ones we don't get through today, they will carry it over to next week, so don't worry about that. We always do that. We always answer every question sent in, but sometimes the sheer volume of them doesn't allow us to go through all of them the week they were sent. But don't worry, they will be answered. And we also move questions around so that the most topical ones are answered immediately and the more timeless, evergreen ones can be moved on. So just so you understand that. So we do answer all questions. Right, let's start in with the first question sent in from CJ Barile, who says, do Italy risk losing another generational talent to an ACL tear in Giovanni Leoni? And who is to blame for this epidemic of ACL injuries among Italians? And that is why I'm wearing this classic Liverpool shirt in honor of Leoni, who had a horrible injury in a situation that didn't even look like a situation. And now, it's confirmed it's an ACL tear, isn't it?
I don't know if Liverpool have actually confirmed it officially, but you know, it's an ACL tear. It's in all the journalists and I think there's actually Leoni said thank you to the fans as well. So yeah, unfortunately, it's an ACL tear.
Okay, but it's a serious knee injury. That much we can say.
It's an ACL tear. I mean, there's the ACL tear in the knee is the one injury that you don't want to get, full stop. But in the knee, if you get an MCL injury or a meniscus injury, which is not good either, or an LCL injury, you know, these are all nasty injuries, but generally you fully recover from them. Generally, mostly players would nearly always fully recover from those injuries. With an ACL, that's where the big risk comes involved, and whether you become the same player again, and we have to be honest about that, because the history shows that no more so than with Italian players. So will Leoni be the same player again? I mean, if you look at Federico Chiesa, if you look at Nicolo Zaniolo, if you look at some other non-Italian players that have had bad ACL injuries, you know, there's a risk. There's a risk involved.
There's definitely a risk involved. But this is what I wanted to say. Those attacking players you mentioned, they lose pace, explosiveness, the combination of the speed and explosiveness when dribbling and pushing forward, like Zaniolo and Chiesa. But if you look at someone like Scalvini, if you look at someone like Bremer, defenders generally don't push forward like that, unless they're wingers or wing players, wing backs. He's a central defender, and I think that is kind of the only silver lining here. Is exactly that. But he is a young player. He's a defender. He doesn't really rely on his explosive speed. He's just physically very strong and very good in the air. And his marking. He reads the game really well. Yeah, so I'm not too worried. I'm hoping, obviously, that it's not an ACL, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it is. I think that if he can recover from this, and this is again, this curse, because it feels like a curse now, of Italian players, a starting lineup of Italian players. We've got two central defenders in Scalvini and Leoni now. We have a winger in Chiesa. We have a number 10 in Zaniolo. We have an attacker in Scamacca. I'm just waiting for the goalkeeper and two central midfielders.
Well, Calafiori as well.
Yeah, Calafiori, sorry. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Calafiori's our left centre back. So we got the back four almost sorted. Just need a right back and a goalkeeper. Then the defence and the back four is sorted in our lineup of ACLs. It's absurd. It's genuinely absurd. And it just keeps hitting these most talented players as well.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was speaking about this with some of my friends last night, and we're all, especially me and you, more than anyone else, we're always super critical about the state of Italian football, how we're not producing enough young talents, how the number of Italians playing in Serie A is abysmal, and then that's all correct. But at the same time, if you go to any other kind of top nation, even the ones that are producing a hell of a lot more players than us, like a Spain or a France, for example, and you say to them, right, we're going to take out your
8-9 players.
Yeah, or say half. You're going to take out 5 starting level players with ACLs. 2 or 3 of them, maybe your most generational players, like Chiesa, generational player. Leoni's
Zaniolo certainly
Leoni's
was.
generational player. Zaniolo, honestly, people forget just how much potential this guy has because they see him now, which is sad what he's become now, and they see that they don't actually remember this guy and how much potential he had. He wasn't the finished product, but this is a guy that Roberto Mancini used to say was Italy's biggest talent. The player that could become the best talent. This is Roberto Mancini, and I think I trust Roberto Mancini when it comes to scouting because his whole history shows that he can spot a young talent better than most people can. So I trust Roberto Mancini when he said that. So you take that out of any team. Imagine you went to England and you said, right, Harry Kane at 22, we're going to give him an ACL. Jude Bellingham at 19, we're going to give him an ACL. Cole Palmer at 19, we're going to give him an ACL. Let's see how England would have performed. You can't tell me that England would have struggled more. So I think that this really has affected the Italy national team during this dark period over the last kind of 5 years or so. Euro victory aside, it's affected us badly.
It absolutely has, and like I said, we have an ACL starting 11 in a 4-3-2-1, in a 4-2-3-1, and we're filling in spots. Like literally, our back 4 is almost done. You got Calafiori, Scalvini, Leoni. We don't have a right back. I'm sure we'll have one by the end of the season. Goalkeeper, we don't. I'm not.
The end of the month, sure. More like.
Yeah, well, we don't have a goalkeeper yet. But we have Chiesa to the right. We're Zaniolo as a 10, Scamacca as a 9. So we're missing 4, 5 players.
Yeah, if we can ask who is to blame for the epidemic. Now, I would direct everybody to go back around a year. I think it was in October last year after the Bremer ACL. And we did a really, really popular, well-received interview. I think I did it with a physiotherapist who we basically discussed the whole ACL epidemic, not just based with Italy, but just in general, because there is an ACL epidemic in football right now. In the last 20 years, the number of ACLs has gone up 29-fold. 29-fold in the last 20 years. So it is an epidemic. It's not just in Italy, but in Italy it is worse. I saw another study which someone forwarded to me last night that the incidence of ACLs in Italy is far higher than in the other major European leagues. So it is higher in Italy. There's something that we're doing worse, but it is everywhere. It's not just it only happens in Italy. It's an epidemic everywhere. And if you listen to that interview that I did with the physiotherapist, we looked at we looked at a lot of things, but one of them was the causes. What is causing this epidemic?
The factors behind it.
There's 3 major factors. One is, and this is according to the physio, the biggest reason is, and everybody's agreed on this, is the number of games being played. There's too many games being played, and basically your ACL, your anterior cruciate ligament, acts as a secondary or passive stabilizer for your knee. The first stabilizer is your muscles. So basically, in layman's terms, the muscles kind of protect you from injury. But when you're fatigued, when you're playing too many games, those muscles get weakened, those muscles get tired. So they don't stabilize and protect the knee, and it goes to your secondary or passive stabilizer. And that's where the pressure becomes too much, and that's where that's why your ACL goes. And for non-contact ACL injuries, of which we see quite a lot of, that is why, a movement that looks innocuous and a player's done so many times will all of a sudden lead to an ACL tear. So it's too many games that are causing this. And also, you see most of the ACL injuries tend to happen at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. They happen at the end of the season because players are exhausted from playing too many games. They happen at the start of the season because when you ramp up very quickly from zero to a very intense football. And I reckon that probably played a factor with Leoni. He's gone from no football, this was his debut, to all of a sudden an intense game, 80 minutes, and he probably his ACL couldn't handle it. So that's number one. Too many games, but the football authorities don't care about that. They just want more money, bigger World Cups, Club World Cup, bigger Champions Leagues, more, and that's the reason for that. The secondary reason.
Speaking of that, just a point, they're talking about for 2030 World Cup to turn it into 60 teams.
64, yeah.
64 teams.
Mm. Well, at least
it's 150 nations, 155 states. How many member states does FIFA have? 150? That's almost half. Now, what's the point of having a qualifier?
No, but they won't get rid of those qualifiers. They'll still make you play them. But yeah, at least
Italy will qualify. Even more games then.
At least Italy will qualify then. Although we'll qualify with half a team of because our other half will be ACL victims. But at least we'll qualify. So that's number one. And then number two is this is more. The other factors are more kind of up for debate. But training, like how we train the players, and I think that's definitely a big factor with Italian players because we're outdated. We've got outdated training. We focus way too much on fitness, especially in pre-season, the retiros, which adds to the first point about players being fatigued and tired. So that I think that's a factor. And then there's the pitches, the state of the pitches, which Italian football again. The facilities and the state of the training pitches and in Italy are abysmal. Like look at the Stadio Olimpico, for example. I mean, it's just embarrassing. The San Siro from certain periods hasn't been the best either. But the Olimpico, where it seemed to be most of the ACLs seem to happen, both for Roma and for visiting teams, like Chiesa's one, abysmal. But what I believe, and this is where there's a kind of a bit of a divide over whether it is a factor, but I'm absolutely adamant this is a factor. The studies will tell you there's no conclusive proof that hybrid and plastic pitches are a factor in ACL injuries. It's proven that they're a factor in other injuries like foot injuries and ankle injuries. That's been proven that you get more foot and ankle injuries because of the hybrid and plastic pitches. It's not been proven at all. The studies haven't proven it. From the studies that they've done, which I don't think are good enough, the studies, that they're not a factor in ACL injuries. I completely disagree with that. I think that anybody that's played football will tell you that if you play on a proper pitch, like the old pitches that we used to play on them as kids, where they were fully 100% grass pitches, compared to what has become the norm now among nearly all kind of professional, top-level professional football pitches, which is their hybrid pitches or they're just artificial, full stop. There's less give in the ground. It's just basic logic that when there's less give in the ground, that puts more pressure onto your body, onto your legs, and it causes more injuries. And I think even if you look at the Leoni injury, look at the way that his leg and his knee kind of bends and rotates. And if that was on a fully grass pitch, there would have been more give in that. It's like running on sand or on water. You're not putting that pressure on. It's the knees and the legs are not taking all the pressure. And so I generally believe, and Steven Gerrard said this as well. Steven Gerrard believes that to honour your shirt there, Steven Gerrard believes that it is these hybrid and artificial pitches are a big reason why the ACLs, we're getting more and more ACLs, because we didn't used to get hardly any Nima when we were kids. Like in the 90s, or if you go back before the 90s, how many people used to get ACLs? You used to get the odd one. I mean, I remember Alan Shearer got a bad one, and the recovery times were longer as well. But now you get it all the time. I'm adamant that the pitches are the hybrid pitches play a role in this. It's a combination of factors, but that's what I believe, because there's no other reason why they should It's not just down to more games. They used to play a lot of games back then. I remember Gerd Müller used to play 65 games a season when he used to play. So I don't believe it's just you're playing more football matches.
Well, it's not just that they're playing more football, but the intensity of the game has improved since Gerd Müller played. The training methods have improved, but it's also more load. Like there's more workload on the body. And I think football, football is not like ice hockey or NBA. There's much more ground to cover, and therefore they can play more games like that compared to football, because football it's 120 times 93 meters, the pitch, right? And there's much more ground to cover. I think the load that you put on the body is different to other sports, and therefore I'm not saying it's the only one. I think you detailed it brilliantly there, and I think that interview was really good. I can't remember, his name was Dr. Raj. Yeah, he explained really, really well. But I do think the sheer volume of how much work you put on these bodies is a huge factor. I think with the Italian thing, the pitches the pitches are a disgrace. I mean, they are a disgrace. Some of them look like potato fields. And then, it's some of them, like the San Siro, where they because the way they built it for Italia 90, there was no sun coming in, and then they had to. It turns out
Who decides a football stadium for a pitch with no sunlight? I mean,
because
basic. I mean, I failed biology, but even
you mean photosynthesis actually works.
Even I would have known that.
Yeah, I know. No, it doesn't come enough, and that's what they said, that there was a problem with that not enough sun came in, and so the grass didn't grow. So, but then of course they use hybrid pitches and blah blah blah. Look, it is what it is. It is what it is, and it's a combination of factors. But with Leoni, I think he hasn't played that many games, but the step up from Parma, Serie A to Liverpool and Premier League was too much for his body, I think.
I think with Leoni, it's a bit of bad luck. If you see how it happened, it was very unlucky. But again, I think it's the ramping up from, and this is a proven factor. When you ramp up from not playing at all to suddenly playing 90 minutes intense. That's why one of the reasons, like I said before, why you get a lot more ACLs at the start of the season, because players are going from zero playing time to all of a sudden 90 minutes. So he's gone from, this was his debut. We're near the end of September. So, he's gone the first month and a bit of the season without playing a single minute. And then all of a sudden, bang, he's straight in there. It happened towards the end of the game. And also, if you look at how it happened, unlucky, but also, like I'm saying, that's where I think the pitch plays a role. Because if you do that on a soft pitch, which got give in the ground, it is actually proven that hard pitches cause more ACL. Dry pitches cause more ACL injuries. So if dry pitches cause more ACL, I believe that hybrid pitches and artificial pitches cause ACL because there's no give in the ground. It's like playing on a hard ground. So I mean, for me, I don't agree with the studies that say that it's not proven. I believe they need to do better studies.
Well, it's not that it's not proven. They're basically saying there's not enough evidence to support the claim yet.
Yes.
So they're not ruling it out. They're saying there's nothing to suggest. I mean, people need to understand the differences when it comes to scientific studies. That if you do a study that says no, there is no correlation, that's different. But if you have a study that says no, we don't have enough evidence to make this claim, that's different.
Yeah. Well, that's the situation.